No, I did a show for car dealers. They're now making gas out of French fry grease. You heard that, right? How does it work? You fry up the fries, you eat the fries, you dump the grease in the car, and you drive to Weight Watchers and wonder why you're getting fat. We're going to be putting French fry grease into cars. You thought the SUVs were big now. Now, I've mentioned I worked on some cruise ships, and while the work is fine, I just don't feel completely at home. And one of the reasons is that they're kind of unpredictable. Yeah, you're usually in like a foreign country by yourself, and sometimes the travel planning for the entertainer isn't as planned out as it could be. Yeah, this is probably because the travel agency has to deal with people in countries who are a little more laid back than we are in the U.S. If we say the cab will be there at 4 p.m., then it will be there at 4 p.m. if you're in the U.S. Not so much in some other countries. And I can't stand not having control and not knowing what's going to happen to me. I was once set to work on a cruise ship. I think it was in Belize. I flew into the Belize airport and got my luggage and then went out to meet the person who's supposed to be holding the sign with my name. Yeah, nothing. I stood there for like 45 minutes. Nothing. This was back before cell phones were very good, but I was able to get a quick call out to my cruise agent back in the States. It was a really bad connection, but she said she was going to work on it. I waited another hour. I was supposed to get a ride to a resort, stay overnight, and then get a ride to the ship the next morning. And I had no idea what hotel it was or where the hotel was, and there was no Uber or Lyft back then. I didn't even have any idea where the ocean was from where I was standing. I was on my own in a foreign country looking like a foreigner. After being there for almost 2 hours, one of the guys from the cab line walked over and asked me if I was okay. Apparently, all the flights had come in for the day and I was still hanging out. I told him I was the comedian for the cruise ship and I was supposed to get a ride to a hotel and then to a cruise ship the next day. He said he might be able to help me and he thought he knew where the hotel was. He'd make a phone call and be right back. A few minutes later, he came back and said everything was fine. Come on, get in the cab. I was a little nervous, but I really didn't have many other options, other than sleep at the airport, which was the size of a food truck, and they probably wouldn't let me do that anyway. So we got in the car and proceeded to drive on a very bumpy road through little tiny villages with no paved roads and lots of small huts. There were no resorts or even hotels in these villages. I was getting more and more nervous, and I thought, this is how people disappear. After about 45 minutes of kind of a white-knuckle ride, at least for me, we pulled into this really beautiful resort. Yeah, he got my bags out, and I followed him into the front desk. And yes, this was the place. Yay! My name was there, and apparently this guy didn't know what he was talking about. I had a wonderful night at the hotel with a bar that went out into the very blue water, and I had a great dinner, and the next day the guy even showed up and got me to the ship. So while this worked out well, I just can't handle the unexpected part of this kind of travel. The takeaway from this is that a lot of times when you're faced with no information and not a lot of choices, you just have to let go and just know that things are going to work out. They usually do. At least that's what my mom says. That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening. Feel free to check out my website, theworklady.com. This is Jan. Take care and enjoy your journey.